22. Sometime after these things, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am. Abraham replied. God said, take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go up to the land of Moriah. Offer him up there as a burnt sacrifice on one of the mountains which I will indicate to you. Early in the morning, Abraham got up and saddled his donkey. He took 2 of his young servants with him, along with his son Isaac. When he had cut the wood for the burnt offering, he started out from the place God had spoken to him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham caught sight of the place in the distance. So he said to his servants, you 2 stay here with the donkey, while the boy and I go up there. We will worship and then return to you. Abraham took the wood from the burnt offering, and he put it on his son Isaac. Then he took the fire and the knife in his hand, and the 2 of them walked on together. Isaac said to his father Abraham, my father. What is it, my son? He replied. Here is the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. Abraham replied. The 2 of them continued on together. When they came to the place God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. Next, he tied up his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand, took the knife, and prepared to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. He answered. Do not harm the boy, the angel said. Do not do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, because you did not withhold your son, your only son, from me. Abraham looked up and saw behind him a ram caught in the bushes by its thorns. So he went over and he got the ram, and he offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place, The Lord Provides. It is said to this day, in the mountain of the Lord provision will be made. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, I solemnly swear by my own name, decrees the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will indeed bless you, and I will greatly multiply your descendants so that they will be as countless as the stars in the sky or the grains of sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the strongholds of their enemies because you have obeyed me. All the nations of the earth will pronounce blessings on one another using the name of your descendants. Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they sent out together for Beersheba, where Abraham stayed. After these things, Abraham was told, Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz the firstborn, his brother Buz, Kemuel, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Fildash, Jidlap, and Bethuel. Now Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. These were the 8 sons Milcah bore to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also bore him children, Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. So we get a little bit here at the end because it's putting this in the story because it will become important in the next chapter. But let's back up here. So, so God calls out to Abraham, and now there is a test. Let me just go look. The distance from Beersheba to Moriah. Distance from Beersheba to Mount Moriah. 112 kilometers. What is that in miles? I need miles. In miles, thank you. It's still giving me 112 kilometers. Why are you doing that to me? Okay. 112 kilometers to miles. Okay, 70 miles. 70 miles. So it took 3 days' journey to walk 70 miles. Hey, Biolithic Andy, welcome in. He's got a 70-mile-ish journey. We don't know exactly. Could be, let's call it 75, which means walking 25 miles a day. That's still a good clip to be able to do. I would say if you're doing 3 miles an hour, you're walking for 8 hours a day. Yeah, that all computes there. So a half marathon a day. Well, yeah. Kind of, but you're not running, you're walking. So Abraham hears from God, you need to go to the land of Moriah. Okay, so it is plural here. The location is much debated over the location of Moriah. Second Chronicles suggest it may be the site where the temple was built in Jerusalem. So we don't actually have a hard and fast knowledge of where this is, but just looking, that could be where it is. It could be another location. So he is told to go offer his son as a burnt offering. He goes and he obeys. We don't have it here, but I think in the New Testament it says that Abraham considered that God could resurrect him. So he is going to do and be obedient to God in this circumstance. Now, one of the things, like a lot of people think that this is an issue of child abuse. It's an issue of other stuff. That is taking our modern understanding and placing it on an ancient text. What the people of Israel are going to have is neighbors who actually do this. So when you are hearing the story of this, you're not going to think, oh, that's a horrible thing to do necessarily. You're going to think that is a common practice that our neighbors do. Okay, so maybe Abraham did this. No, when we get to the end, God is going to refrain from having him do this because God does not require this, nor does God want this. It was a test for Abraham to pass and not, go through with it. So he saddles the donkey. He goes on along. He leaves the servants away. Why? The servants could intervene in what is happening. So he doesn't want these servants to get in the way. And then we have to think through this part. We have the conversation of, we have the fire and we have the wood. Where's the animal, Dad? What are we going to sacrifice? And he says, God will provide. So Abraham does demonstrate faith that God will provide a sacrifice. He absolutely does. And then we get to the end and it says, on the mountain, the Lord will provide. We have that phrase that comes from this idea that on the mountain, God will provide. So if you're supposed to give something to God, God will provide what you're supposed to give to him. Oh, which isn't that funny? We just had that story in the last episode, where the king had given Abraham sheep. Then Abraham gave the sheep back. Abraham had dug a well, and then the king gave the well back to him. So here, God is providing the ram, and then the ram is being sacrificed back to God. Like it's just like this beautiful giving thing, and then receiving back what you have given. And it happens like 3 times in succession here. So anyway, we have the conversation with Abraham and Isaac. At this time, we don't exactly know the age of the boy, but Abraham is over 100 years old. And if he's over 100 years old, a young boy is not going to be able to just be forcefully tied up very easily. Isaac is also going to volunteer for this. It just simply says he tied the boy up and he placed him on top of the altar. Well, okay, probably Isaac climbed up on the altar and then he was bound there. That makes sense. And then he is about to kill him so that then he'll start the fire, and he doesn't need to. The angel intervenes at the last minute. So the angel watches, and the angel speaks on God's behalf. We had similar with the last story with Hagar and the boy, Ishmael, that the angel speaks and the angel intervenes. And so here we have intervention again, because God is not a God that wants child sacrifice, so he prevents it from happening. But Abraham is showing his obedience to God, and the test was, would you really sacrifice your child? So the way to pass the test is to intend to carry it out, not to avoid it and not do it. Now, I have heard thoughts that Moriah was not as far away, that perhaps there's another location, and that it was only a one-day journey, and while he is hemming and hawing of going to do this, he takes a 3-day journey to get there. I don't know where it was. I don't know about that. It doesn't really tell us that. Now, maybe there's clues in the text, and if that was true, in our minds would say, why did it take him 3 days to get there? Okay. 25 miles, full marathon. I think it's more than that. So it's probably longer than 2 full marathons, Papstio, for sure. Hey, Supersonic, welcome in. Okay. And then, like I was saying, at the end here, so we do have Abraham returns to Beersheba. So that's where he planted a tree. That's where he's living. And then we get news that Abraham is told about what's happened with his family back home. So he gets word of his family back home, of all of the children that they have had, and the descendants thereof. So the grandkids that come therein, and then even of the concubines. So we are getting the family of Abraham filled in here before we move the story forward again. Okay. Hope that makes sense to everybody. I don't think there's anything more to add there. Oh, I guess there is this part. This is interesting. It caught my ear differently. Because you have obeyed me, all nations on earth will pronounce blessings on one another using the name of your descendants. I did not notice that before. They will pronounce blessing on one another. The nominative verb, berach, is active in the peel and passive in the pool. Here it is in the hithpeal. Like, why are you telling me about the other two if it's in a different form? Sorry. Which is typically middle or reflexive. Traditionally, it has been rendered as passive, will be blessed here. Some reference grammar consider the hithpeal to be passive on rare occasions, but their examples can be disputed. The LXX translates it with a passive spelling, but there does not mean that the Hebrew is passive. For example, the LXS uses the passive spelling of hithpeal in Genesis 3:8, where the Hebrew says they hid themselves from the Lord. The English understanding of the Greek passive spelling does not mean that the Hebrew is passive. They were hidden. It merely reflects translation issues going from Hebrew to Greek or the Semitic to Indo-European, and may reveal the broader range of meaning that the Greek spelling can convey. The hithpeal is better understood here as a middle or reflexive reciprocal, as in other instances, and it lists several. One option would be to treat it as the middle voice niffle case, as in these cases. They may find blessing through your descendants. This exists to nations. The Lord promised Abraham to bless those who bless him. But one may expect that continued use of the niffle for that and distinct middle voice meaning of hithpeal here. The hithpeal could mean the pronounced blessing on each other, which is in Isaiah, where the expression of blessing each other through the name of the true God. Wow, that is fascinating. That is fascinating. And that is still ongoing. So there we go. What caught my ear was they will bless each other. They won't just be blessed. They will indeed bless each other, which is really cool.